This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, thank you, Tasha. All right, we'll call this meeting of the School Building Committee to order. Our first item on the agenda is the approval of the July 22 minutes. They were included in your packet. Is there a motion regarding the minutes from July 22?
Kathy's
Okay,
moving.
Kathy, I believe that's a motion to accept the minutes. Is there a
I'd
second?
like to make it just a simple amendment to a couple, looks like just a typo on items.
We'll second it first and then we'll do the, okay, Steve,
fine.
okay, Chris,
I'll
go ahead.
second it.
All right, go ahead, Chris.
It's just on item 7, second paragraph. It's a couple of just, again, mistyped words. It says to dissolve the issue with, it should be to resolve the issue of.
Okay. Any other corrections? Okay, then all in favor of approving the July 22 minutes, give me a sign.
Aye. Madison says aye.
Okay, thanks, Madison. Any opposed? And I will abstain from that, Tasha, since I wasn't there. Okay,
I
thanks.
will also abstain from that. I was not there either.
Okay, thanks, Rich. Okay, so then that brings us to review and discussion of architectural betterments, costs, and schedule implications. And do I turn over to Scott or Adam?
Yeah, I'll start, Randy. Thank you. Yeah, so right now, we do have a schedule, and it was included, I believe, in the meeting information packet. There's really two betterments that we're tracking. One is the interior education displays, and the second is the updated energy dashboard. And I believe Kelly and Lauren that, a subcommittee's been formed to start looking at that. Again, no critical time frame on either of these. As part of the committee information that was sent out, we did receive a proposal from CMTA as far as their energy dashboard, and that was for $125,000. I do understand that there are conversations going on right now with ABS on what they may be able to provide. So we're not looking at this point for any action on the CMTA proposal. What I would ask is that the committee over the next 2 weeks take a look at that, let us know if there's any questions on that, and then we can work with Richard to resolve any of those questions. And then Kelly, at that point, maybe we have a little bit more information, or let us know what we can do to assist in helping with the discussions with ABS. So I don't know if there's any questions on that tonight, but yeah, I think Tony, you had your hand up.
Yeah, we've been approving a number of changes in the $1,000 to $5,000 range, and this is $125,000, so it's a much bigger change. But it occurred to me that these things could add up and end up changing our bottom line, and I assume that you, Scott, are watching that if nobody else is. So could you just reassure me that none of these proposals are going to have any significant impact on our bottom line?
No, we're doing quite well. We had a good buyout savings, and again, that's absolutely one of the tasks, reasons you hire an OPM, is to watch your overall schedule and budget to make sure you don't get in trouble. So, we can provide, and I can send it around to the committee, probably tomorrow or Monday, just a snapshot of where you are. But you're doing fine as far as any of the anticipated costs. We had built in contingencies and other budget line items for a lot of the things that we'll be talking about tonight. So you are doing just fine. And again, it's our job, if we see anything on the horizon that is of concern, we're absolutely going to let you know well in advance.
Thank you.
And Scott, would the energy dashboard, is that reimbursable?
It's really more of a software package. So I would say that software typically is not reimbursed.
I can give a brief update if you want, Randy, on some of this.
Sure, Kelly, thanks.
So just going back first to the wall displays, We are in the process of communicating or finding a possible meeting time for those people who've been identified to participate in that conversation, along with TSKP and their designers. And so Jill's on vacation this week, but I know from some communications I've had with her that people have been responding to that doodle poll. So we should be able to get a meeting scheduled pretty quickly. And with regards to the dashboard, I've had some conversations with our facilities people, Alan and Bill. Alan is out today. They had shared with me what is possible with the control system that is already built into the building. And we have decided it would probably be a good idea to have a meeting with that company known as Allerton or ABS to see what kind of customization they can do. There's no cost for their data sets because it's already part of the building controls. But we do need to take a closer look at what their display options are and the degree to which they can actually customize at no cost or minimal cost the actual data we're seeking. So it's all in progress.
Okay, Tony, go ahead again.
On the chart that's on page 9, where it says proposed betterments, and one of them is upgrade energy dashboard, it says reimbursement is likely. Is that incorrect?
Yes, that's incorrect. If there was, potentially if there was components such as maybe a touch screen or something in the lobby, if there were actually building components, those would likely be reimbursed, additional control points and so forth. But any of the software package or ongoing maintenance agreements, with CMTA to keep this active and live as far as managing the dashboard would not be.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions on the CMTA proposal so far? Again, that will come back. We'll have a little bit more information what ABS can do for us, and we'll then compare them side by side. Okay, then the material procurement.
Yeah, this is just a quick update. Spoke with Adam earlier and Ken and in discussions at the OAC meetings. Newfield has been, and continues to be proactive on doing everything they can to make sure that we get materials in a timely fashion. Jeff and his efforts in reviewing shop drawings, again, they've been doing a good job prioritizing. So as of today, and again, things can change, but as of today, we are not aware of any material delivery delays at this time. That could change. Again, with COVID heating back up, we're not sure. This is as we all know, a very uncertain time again. But I just wanted to just put a nod out to the team that, currently everybody's working diligently as far as getting things approved, trying to get materials procured, and that effort has been going very well.
Okay, questions on that? Steve.
With the transfer station right around the corner, does it make sense to get delivery of materials we'll need down the road to that site, just so we don't have to worry about delays? Like, I know the site's tight, especially with all the fields and everything, but if you needed an extra space to drop stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, Al, we'd look for a response for you on that, but, my understanding is that Newfield and Al, you're aware of that potential. So, if there is a need from a material procurement standpoint to have additional laydown area, that certainly is available space from the town to help facilitate deliveries.
Yes, we're aware of that.
All right, maybe at this point, Tasha, if I could try and share my screen. There's actually 2 PCOs I want to talk about as part of the OPM update. All right, so let me see, let's do that and share. And okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so this is good news. PCO 001, it was approved previously as a not to exceed to relocate some cabinetry per request of the owner into, as part of the modifications, getting the building ready for this fall semester. So the original amount that was approved was $6,531.80. It was tracked time and materials, and the good news is that the cost, as you can see on the screen here, actually came in at $2,392.90. So about a third of the anticipated cost. Once we get down to the portion, or Randy, you can do it as we go through each one of these items, we would just look for the committee to make a motion to revise that approval down to the current amount reflected on the screen.
And that's PCO 001R?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, so then there were some draft motions that were sent around. I don't know if anybody has one handy for PCO 001R. Like to make that motion? Okay, Chris, thanks.
I'd like to make a motion for PCO 001R dated 8/10/2021 in the amount of $2,392.90 for the relocation of the cabinets and countertops.
Okay.
Keep reading, or that's enough?
Sure, why don't you go ahead?
The updated proposal reflects the build cost for PCO 001 dated June 3rd, 2021 that was previously approved on a time and materials basis not to exceed $6,531.80.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second? Steve, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Then all in favor of approving this motion, give me a sign. Any opposed? Or any abstentions? Okay, so that passed unanimously. Thank you.
Okay, in the next one, apologize. This one's kind of a quick hit. Our field rep, Doug Goulet, just finished reviewing this yesterday, and we did not get it out within the meeting packet. But what I have in front of you is PCO 10. And maybe in a moment, Kelly and Lauren, I'll ask you to opine on this a little bit. What this is to relocate the large swing set out of the construction area and to get it prepped and ready for the students to be able to utilize. And it seems fairly involved, but then when you get into the overall costs, reviewing it with our field rep, it does make sense. The total cost is $13,171.95. But what a good portion of that is one, removing it, setting it in new concrete foundations. But the big cost is you want to have soft areas for the kids to land. So part of this proposal is to excavate out a fairly large area, 32 feet by 43 feet by 10 inches deep, and then fill that with mulch. So if the kids do come flying off the swing set, they're not landing on hard ground or rock, they're landing on a soft surface. So you can see that, that excavation here is 3,300. The install is 2,575. You've got wood and filter fabric. So when you look at, at all the costs, it appears to be a big number, but our field rep felt that it was justified. Now, from a timeline standpoint, again, just because this one was just received and just reviewed, I would anticipate that Lauren and Kelly, this would be a desire to try and get this ready as soon as possible for the students coming back for the fall semester. So that's why I felt, late this afternoon when we received this and talked to our field rep, that, unfortunately we didn't include it in the meeting packet, but was probably one that we wanted to bring to the attention of this committee.
Scott, I have a couple of questions for you. So it appears that we're going to remove the existing swing set and not buy a new one, right?
Yeah, my understanding is, yeah, this is the existing, the larger swing set, which would be relocated.
Okay, so I'm just wondering about the playground equipment that's going to be there when the school is erected and how close this is going to be to where playground, I mean, a swing set might be eventually. And wondering if we shouldn't just put up the new one, if that's even a possibility. You understand what I'm saying? Like, why spend all this money to move an old swing set that we're going to tear down again in a few months if there's any way to get the new, if there is a new swing set, and I don't know that, get a new one installed now.
And I apologize, and I don't know if either Ryan or Adam or Richard, because there is no sketch as far as the location of this. Is this being relocated in an area where it would be able to remain?
No. No, this is Richard. So this is a temporary relocation of existing equipment on the site. And it's, the permanent plan is to put new equipment into the area, which is a distance away. It's not where this swing set is going to go temporarily. So new playground equipment is part of the project. It is going to be located elsewhere. And we also have some equipment that we are relocating from, I think, Vinton.
Right.
And that equipment is also part of the project, but that is also going to be going elsewhere. This temporary relocation is just to accommodate the existing school and its existing location. And it is closer, it's closer to the front of the building, whereas the in front of the existing building, whereas the new equipment will be further away. It will be closer to the new building entrance.
So there's no way, it's not reasonable to just set up the new one.
No, not with the timetable that has been established for this relocation. This relocation is to be available for pupils coming back next month.
Richard, did you guys explore a location where it would be outside of the construction area, but in a location that possibly could remain, not be affected by the new parking area? Or certainly, of course, it can't be over the septic field, but is there a location where this could be implemented where it could remain so we maintain the value of the relocation?
We have not looked at that, no. So if we were going to be looking at a location where it could be permanently set, that was not part of this discussion.
Yeah, Scott, I got to be honest, I'm not sure it's the sort of equipment we want to keep long-term anyways. I think it's pretty old,
Okay.
unless I'm wrong, Lauren.
Yeah, I'm not sure we're doing
Go ahead, Lauren, why don't you?
I'll just give some background. At the site, we've had two different swing sets. We had a smaller swing set and had four swings and a larger swing set, which is the favorite of the second, third, and fourth graders, can go much higher. This proposal takes the larger of the swing set. Both swing sets have already been removed due to the septic system that's being installed. So both of them are out. We were holding one on site. So that, a little bit of background on, there won't be any swings. It's not like we have a second set of swings available. There is nothing else available right now. So I understand what the committee decides. Just wanted to make sure you had the full story.
So Lauren, you're already going from two swing sets to one?
2 to 0.
Well, no, but if we put this one back.
If you put it back, it's 1, yes.
And the age of those swing sets, do you have any idea?
I think it's true that this is the older set. It's just the more favored.
Okay.
Chris, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I hate to be bringing up that mulch topic again that we talked about last time, but this is just adding to the mulch stuff. And I'm wondering if we've considered using, since we're putting down fabric and all kinds of things to put the mulch on, we might consider that rubberized surface that could be taken up and used again in a new location. And then we wouldn't lose all of that investment. Because we've got a tremendous amount of mulch happening on the grounds that can't be reused, and this would just add to that again.
Richard, do you know if there's a different material? I know there are some rubberized mulches, but they may not necessarily be appropriate for student play areas and are more ornamental in nature. I know there's poured in place rubberized surfaces, but those are quite expensive and would not make sense in this configuration. Are there any other potential options for the play surface?
No, there really aren't. So in the future, the new playground equipment will have a rubberized surface, a poured-in-place rubberized surface. Any kind of temporary rubberized material, I don't think we would recommend reusing it. And so I'm afraid that this is really considered only a temporary arrangement to allow pupils to have a place to play, and then eventually it's going to be removed.
Chris Keeper.
So how did we get into this situation? Is it because it was just not thought of?
Yeah, the project did not anticipate relocating the existing playground equipment. It's not in the plans to do that.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? So I guess the question before us then is whether we approve this. If we don't, I guess the result is there will be 0 swing sets for this coming school year. Okay.
It seemed to me, Kelly, are you sort of thinking there are other alternatives you want to look at? I mean, this doesn't have to be done right now, or does it need to be done right now, Scott, this decision?
Well, certainly, you know, again, why I'm bringing it forward, I mean, I think the implementation of this, to have it done as soon as we could for student use would be a benefit. You know, putting it off, you know, it wouldn't have availability. And then secondly, you'd be creating a small construction area that's, again, a little closer to normally where the kids are going to be playing. You know,
I'm just talking about,
the advantage would be getting in and getting out quicker, sooner than later.
okay, I was thinking 2 weeks, but it's really dependent on Kelly and Lauren. If they want to think it on.
I'm sorry, if we wait 2 weeks to approve this, there's no way we'll get it installed before school opens. We only have 3 weeks till school opens, I think.
I guess that's a question for Al. Al, if this does get approved tonight, can you make this happen?
I would have to talk to the contractor because it's not something that everybody can do. It has to be a playground contractor that installs this because they have the liability insurance for it. I would definitely call them first thing in the morning and find out if they could. And there's certain things we can do. We can definitely prepare the area for the installation.
Chris McAboe.
I'm wondering, Kelly, in light of what you were saying, and Chris as well, is this an opportunity to get something else, not relocate the old swing set, but to buy a different thing, maybe even spending the same amount of money that can be reused in the new spot, you know, a different kind of playscape, I don't know, thing, rocking on bouncing things, I don't know, something that, you know, might not require this amount of either money or spending the money on something that can be reused.
So I'm trying to envision the site, and I think that despite having put forth that idea, I don't think it does work, because I think the space that's available to us now is too far away from where the new school will be placed. And I believe much of that area that the kids will be playing on now is going to be, even though we're not calling it, but like a soccer field, and not a soccer field, a softball field area. I think that's right, Richard?
Yes, that's correct. So in the future, the area where we are placing the mulch and the relocated playground is going to be a grassy field. And that's what the plan shows. So this temporary swing set is going to be in the way. I think my computer just froze.
I wasn't saying that we'd have to keep it in the same place. I'm saying if we're going to spend $13,000, could we possibly buy a new gizmo for $13,000 that we relocate when we get, to the new school, but that it's not moving an old swing set? It's a new thing, and I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's some kind of another piece of outdoor equipment. I said playscape, but maybe that's the wrong word. Maybe there's other things that you see at different parks. I mean, I have pictures of all kinds of things here that people put for use that maybe that would be the better investment, and we bolt that down now and make footings for that, and then later on we have a new thing to move.
I'm sorry, Chris, I didn't understand that piece. I guess that question would go to Lauren then. What are the implications of no swings this year?
I can speak to that just from a children's perspective. I think, we lost a portion of our playground this summer with the construction. It's not sizable, but several slides, several running areas, a little lifted bridge area. And then, so there have been several things that there's a bucket with numbers on it that was taken down along with the swings. And some of the teachers that are on the call can speak to. There's some students who only like to swing at recess. So I think that's where the heart of the question comes in. You have how many students are you talking about that are falling into that category? It's a good handful of students who that's just what they want to do the whole time. And I just felt it was worth advocating for those students, that this is really what they love. Are there other things that they'll be able to do already there, Chris? Yeah, there's a standing seesaw that's out there. There's a sitting seesaw. There's a small rock climbing area. There's definitely things that I don't think you would need to purchase a brand new piece. It's specifically the idea of a swing, that really is what the students would want.
Okay.
I don't know, Richard, if you can guide me. I'm assuming the relocation is somewhere over here in this corner.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Okay. Christopher.
I would be inclined to approve this, but I'd love it if you could, Lauren and Kelly or whoever does this, look into something that doesn't need to get basically dug into the ground, cemented in, and then relocated. In other words, if it was a swing set, for example, they must make them that are bulky enough and heavy enough that they stay there, or some other. I get it that you want a swing set, but I'm just wondering if you've got something like that. So.
I think, Chris, if I may, I think, a good portion of the cost of this, again, is preparing the land so you have fall zones that are appropriate and meet, current safety codes for kids on a swing.
Yeah, I'm fine with
a good portion
as
of
I said,
this.
I'm good to go for it. I'm fine on that. But I just want to kind of give Lauren a little flexibility. If she sees some other equally shiny and happy object, that it might work there as well.
I would guess one of the issues we'd have is timeline for purchasing something and even finding something and then preparing the site for it. Okay, if there are no more questions, then we should try to wrap this up. So this is PCO 10. I guess the question before us is then, is there a motion to approve PCO 10 for, and I missed the dollar amount on there, $13,171.95. Chris?
Yep, I'll make that motion.
And I'll second.
Okay, Chris Kiefer seconds. Any final comments, questions? In that case, all in favor of the motion to approve PCO 10, please give me a sign. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so then that passes unanimously.
Okay, here I come, buddy.
Okay, then the next item,
Yep, next item I've got, Randy, if I could, is the proposal for special inspection services. And maybe, Adam, if you'd like to just talk about your coordination with Sherry quickly on this and in this updated proposal for Michael Horton Associates.
Yeah, so we had a proposal from Michael Horton Associates, who's one of the engineers of record, to perform special inspection services, which is something that was preferred for the project, and that was back in March, I believe. And then as we went to go get them procured and into the system, in order to actually get them into the system and just re-reviewing their proposal, the fee went from $5,200 to $4,900. So this is largely to just formalize and finalize the approval of their scope for $4,900 to move forward with special inspection services.
And again, this would be done on an hourly basis based on the actually rate schedule. It's not attached to the revised one, but their current rate schedule provided, which is on the screen now.
so the $4,900 is a not to exceed?
Correct.
It's an hourly not to exceed currently, yes. And so this revised proposal is dated July 29th, 2021 from Michael Horton Associates.
Okay, questions on this? Anyone? Okay, is there, oh, Chris?
Yeah, so am I understanding then this was already in the budget? You're just changing the conditions, is this true?
Yeah, this is just an update, so there's nothing additional as part of this. This was a known service that we had budgeted for, so it's just formalizing. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, in that case, is there a motion to approve the proposal from Michael Horton Associates for special inspection services? Chris Kiefner, thank you. Second. Chris McNamara, thanks. Okay. Any final questions, comments? Then all in favor of the motion, please give me a sign. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. All right.
Okay, with that, then we do have, Adam, if you want to continue on, just give an update, yes, on the arborist, if you would, please.
Yeah, sure. So as is kind of shown on the screen here, at the last committee meeting, we approved the services for the arborist to go out and document the trees that were exposed after the clearing of the site was performed. So that inspection took place, I believe it was this past weekend. So I had an initial conversation with the arborist just about the initial findings. He reported something on the order of approximately 50 trees that he had tagged as being recommended for removal. If you're on the site at all, they should be orange spray painted on the individual trees, which ones were recommended for being removed. We're still in the conversations on getting the full set of recommendations insofar as the scope and what should be done and that sort of thing. But I wanted to provide initial feedback to the committee insofar as the progress there.
Okay, questions or comments? So bids and now that kind of stuff is going to be coming later.
Yeah, I'd anticipate we'll have some good data at the next committee meeting.
Yeah, so, and at that point, we'll have to talk about what the procurement method is or what we do to solicit bids for that work.
And if I could just add, we're taking a careful look at those 50 trees, or some of the 50 that he's identified because of the impact on the current ropes course. So I don't have anything to report yet, but there are enough trees within the course itself that it's raised some concerns. So we're doing a little more exploration of the impact.
Okay. Thanks, Kelly.
The good news on this is that this effort is not affecting Al and his construction team whatsoever. This is all outside of the construction zone. But again, certainly before next year, we want to make sure that if there is any concerns with safety or any trees that do need to come down, that we get that handled before the school is ready to open.
Chris McNamara?
I'm a little concerned about the cost of this tree removal since what we saw, the cost of the other tree removal, if there's 50 trees at a similar cost, that's going to be quite a large sum of money. So, I mean, we could potentially be talking about, a couple $100,000.
We did pose that question. Adam posed that question to the arborist that's doing the report. He felt with the number of trees and depending on the method used to take them down, that it wouldn't be as much as we were looking at with the previous quote, Chris. I think it was probably more in the $50,000 range, but again, that was just a very quick response to a question. So I think, whatever the final scope of trees is, we'll certainly look to bid it out and work with them to determine the most cost-effective way, working with bidders to get the trees removed.
Chris Kiefner?
On this stuff, it's kind of yes, kind of no that it relates to this new school itself. Yes, I understand that the ropes course is involved, but when we do this kind of a thing, and $1,000 a tree seems really just patently absurd to me. But beyond that, if we do, let's say we did 50,000, Scott, do you get? Does your fee go along with this? Do you get an add-on because of that? So there aren't any other kind of costs beyond it. I'm just wondering about us dealing with it, or the town dealing with it, or the Board of Ed budget dealing with it directly.
Yeah, no, there's no other costs as far as Collier's management of this goes. I would argue the point with the state of Connecticut, if we had a contract limit line and there are trees on the site that we deem, by the arborist, and again, why we're having them do this, that could potentially be a safety concern, I would say that we're removing those trees as far as safety within the site for an elementary school, and would push hard and would anticipate that work would all be reimbursed by the state.
Good. The right direction anyway, but I hope it's still not 50,000 no matter who's paying for it.
I would hope it's only 50,000. At the last quote we got, they were talking about $5,000 a tree. So I think we'll get away cheap if it's 50,000. I could volunteer to take some of these trees down. Since we're not going to hit a building, I'm perfectly capable of taking down those kind of trees.
I'll work with you.
I think the quote that we had in the 11th hour was from somebody that really didn't necessarily want to take them down, but for that price would have been very happy to do so. So again, I think in a competitive bidding market, we'll do quite a bit better.
What species of trees are we talking about, by and large?
Most of them are pine, about probably 75 to 100 foot in height.
I'm just surprised because there's markets for pine and you get paid to have pine taken down to the sawmill. So I say this is somebody who just had 70 trees cut down on my property and didn't pay a penny for it.
In talking with the arborist, he did mention just some of the site logistics and going down. I also spoke with the town's tree warden about it, and again, yes, there's the market for wood, but a lot of it's just logistics in terms of taking down these taller trees while potentially maintaining some of the undergrowth trees, and that's something that the arborist is working through in terms of recommendations.
Ernie?
I'm just wondering, as a point of clarification for myself, because I am getting a little bit confused about the different tree things. These particular 50 trees are trees that are now considered to be potentially dangerous because trees that used to surround them and protect them might now be problematic. Do I have that correct?
Yes, in summary, yeah, that they were surrounded by trees that were also helping to support them. So now that they've been exposed and potentially some of the ones right on the cut line, you've also affected their root structure within the drip line of the tree. So because you've taken some of these down, some more are exposed to potential failure in sometime in the near future.
Okay, thank you.
And I say all that as not an arborist, just the owner's project manager listening to information we're getting from the experts.
Okay, any final questions on the arborist trees? Okay. Scott, does that conclude your update?
Yeah, that concludes the update, and we're happy to answer any other questions if the committee has any other questions. And then we've got, once we get down to topic 7, we'll jump back in and talk about Eversource.
Okay. Richard, do you have an update for us?
Yes, but first I have to shake the thought of seeing Chris McNamara take trees down on the site. I think that's going to be extraordinary. But I just have a couple of things to report. Jeff Brown is on vacation. I've been covering him, and I don't think I've screwed things up. So the only new things I want to report are a couple of unforeseen things that came up. I mean, this is normal in construction. One of which is that the excavator, in his work to locate the catch basin that is called for on the plans, encountered an irrigation line as well as an electrical line that we believe serves the scoreboard. At least he believes it serves the scoreboard. So we asked our civil engineer who planned the storm catch basin locations to look at that, and so she's making a recommendation for modifying the location of that catch basin and maybe modifying some pipe that leads to it in order to avoid having to relocate the irrigation line or the electrical line. Those lines were not documented on the survey. They were not part of any official utility plan, and so these kinds of things do come up occasionally when we find things in the ground that are not documented. Whether or not that's a change order yet, I don't know. This is new information that just came up. Another thing that has come up in discussions about furniture and equipment with Susan Pinckney in my office, along with Kelly and I believe others, they taking a closer look at some spaces. And one space in particular is the nurse's suite. There was, I believe, a request made, and Kelly, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the nurse is requesting that a vision panel, a glass panel, be inserted between the nurse's office and the treatment area so that they could have a continuous view of activity in the other room. That glass panel is not in the plans, so we do add that. That could be a change order. We're still trying to scope out what exactly it is that the nurse needs for a vision panel. A couple of other things have already been discussed. We did receive the quote for energy dashboard. I know the committee is not going to act on that for now, which is fine. And we do have 3 tentative dates, I believe, scheduled in September to have a brainstorming session about the educational walls. So we're just waiting for some consensus on the appropriate date. And once that is established and we get some ideas of what these educational walls might be, then we'll bring back that to the building committee to act upon. But at the moment, we're still waiting for that date to be established. I don't really have any other new information to report, but from my perspective, I think the construction is going well. I think everyone has been very proactive in addressing issues that have cropped up. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have questions for Richard? Okay. Okay, great. Thank you, Richard. And then that brings us to the construction update. Al, do you have a few things to share with us?
Yes, I do. All right. So we're still having issues with material procurement. It's industry-wide. It's not just this job. We found out this past week that ductile iron is 16 weeks from approval. E-Pay siding 6 months to get. The siding won't affect our schedule. We're just going to be a little late starting the siding, but we should be able to have it in by turnover. A lot of the issues we're getting in early. Our roofer actually procured his roofing material and insulation 2 months ago, put an order in for it. And he's hoping he'll get it in 2 more months when he's ready to start roofing. So that's what we're dealing with in the industry right now. The current work on site, we had our second concrete pour today. We're forming and pouring the retaining wall footing at building A. We're moving into building C tomorrow. The panels for the retaining walls are form material is coming tomorrow. And that probably will be several weeks to get that retaining wall built. It's the largest wall in the building. So we're getting that first so it has time to cure, come up to strength, and then we'll be able to backfill it without any problems. We are installing the leaching field at the front of the old building, and we're installing storm drainage. And we started site electric today. We started the primary and data lines to the utility pole by the road, or to location of the new utility pole that will be in there. We'll also be installing the transformer pad next week in hopes of getting the Eversource transformer in there. We started today excavating for the frost walls in area B. That's actually area AB. That's going to be started next week with frost wall footings, and then we'll move into walls on that side. For the look ahead, our geothermal contractor has mobilized with pipe material and some equipment. The drilling, he's bringing one drilling rig in on Monday. He's going to drill a couple of holes. It takes about a day and a half to 2 days to drill one hole. Once he gets the procedure down, they'll bring in another drilling rig to continue the operation. But he has about 60 days worth of work to get those 88 wells in. Next week, we're gonna continue with the site electric and the storm. We're gonna be starting the domestic wells in the next 2 weeks. And then we'll be also in the next couple of weeks bringing in mulch at the play area where we're currently doing the leaching field. So that's about it on current in the next couple of weeks. So everything is going pretty good. There's just a lot of challenges that we have to overcome.
And all those domestic wells, that has to be into the current school building before school starts, right?
Right now, we're working off the old system. We had a meeting with the facility staff earlier this week. We have a game plan because we're having issues with the pump house. So we've worked up a plan where we're going to tie in the new wells into the old system in the pump house. We're going to be getting two additional bladder tanks for more capacity, and we'll have to do the transfer on a weekend or non-school hours. But that's our game plan right now, to run off the existing pumps that are in the old garage getting rid of the very tanks so we can finish our foundations in building A. And then once we get the pump house built, then we can just swap over and go to the school.
Okay. Chris?
Al, I want to say, I think the photos that I'm looking at about the construction progress are great. It gives us that can't get there on a regular basis a good sense of what's happening. So thanks for those. And it's really encouraging to see this kind of progress in spite of, you know, some of the delays. I did want to ask about, you talked about some issues with availability of, you know, materials, but then earlier, Scott, you said that you didn't find that there were going to be any procurement problems. Am I not understanding the difference between the procurement and the actual purchases?
No, what I alluded to, the fact is that the team's working diligently. You know, for example, you know, they pre-ordered the roofing materials. So, you know, at this point, we should have the roofing materials if they deliver on their promise in time. So, although there are procurement issues, you know, as you've heard from Al just stated, you know, in that case, they ordered the materials a couple months ago. They're proactively looking to try and procure materials. So they're, you know, as far as the e-pay, they may get a little bit of a late start there, but again, nothing that's affected the schedule to this point. Not promising that, you know, again, as I stated, in this current very uncertain market, that some other factors aren't going to drive schedule related issues, but just that in our opinion as the OPM, you know, both the architect and the contractor have done a good job so far managing, anticipating, and working hard trying to, you know, minimize any disruption as far as procurement. But again, you know, I believe I did sort of qualify that with, this is a very uncertain market. The team's doing a good job, and you know, fingers crossed, but we still may face some challenges in the future.
So Al, you said the ductile iron is 16 weeks. Is that come in on time? I mean, is 16 weeks adequate? I mean, you know what, you don't need it before that?
Well, that's what the supplier is telling us right now. The most critical piece of ductile iron that we have right now is a 12-inch piece of ductile iron that goes from the still well in the pump house to the fire storage tank. That's why we're having so much trouble with this this pump house. Originally, it was the tank and the still well. Now it's the piping. So we just have to work around it. We have about 8 40-foot containers on site that's just housing material that the subs have already bought and are storing. Like we have a couple of boxes just full of PVC pipe. So we're trying to work around it the best we can, try to get ahead of it if we can, you know.
Okay, other questions for Al? Steve?
So overall, we're still on schedule, or are we starting to fall a little behind, or are we above, or how do we sit on that?
Right now, we're currently right on schedule.
And I think it was back in July, we had received a preliminary project schedule in our board packet. And on there, there's certain dates. Is that the start date for that particular line item or the end date? There's like a kind of like a zigzag graph. I think it was like 10 or so pages long. Do you know what I'm talking about?
There should be columns. That one column would be a start date, the next column next to it would be a finish date.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you get updated with the current schedules.
I don't know, this is the only one I saw was from the beginning of July. So if there's a more recent one, I haven't seen it. I'm just kind of working off of that one.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll make sure that we get the committee an updated overall project schedule for the latest one that's been distributed.
Yeah, with the way we did the whole project so far, Scott, you've been super helpful with, we always had that kind of timeline of events and we saw what meetings were on what days. And now that we're kind of in the construction and we're all anxious to make sure we make that deadline, anything we can do to kind of make it more understandable where we're supposed to be would be very appreciated.
Yeah, I just want everyone to know that the schedule is a living document. It changes weekly, depending on issues that we have. If we have to work around something, we do something else instead of that. So it's always changing. It's always being updated, and the end date doesn't change usually. So that's the way we'd like to keep it.
Right, some shifts in phasing and things like that.
Correct.
Mary, had your hand up?
I did, but I was going to make the same comment that Steve made. You know, in light of the fact that we don't meet in person anymore, and we don't get those that spreadsheet kind of delineating all the dates, those were in fact very helpful. And anything we can do to get those in a virtual format, I think, kind of helps everybody, because as community members, I'm sure I'm not the only one who gets the question every time I step out into the community. Is this really going to be done in time? So it's good to be able to say, yes, I've seen documents and I really know, instead of, yep, that's what I keep hearing, that's what they're telling me. So those were very appreciated. So thank you for them. If they continue, that would be great.
Yeah, and typically at the biweekly owner architect contractor meetings, and there's one coming up this Tuesday, there's a 2-week look ahead that's reviewed, that's more of a bulleted, pulled out schedule of just what's happening, and that gets reviewed with Kelly and Randy and Lauren. So at the end of the day, once we get that updated schedule, what we can do is we can just start sending that 2-week look ahead out to the full committee, so everyone knows specifically what's transpiring in the next couple of weeks as well.
Yeah, we can do that. Okay, any other questions for Al? Okay, thank you, Al, for that update. And I do appreciate the pictures as well in the packet. Then that brings us to the Eversource item. Scott, are you going to take us through that?
Yeah, I think it was approximately 2 weeks ago. I know it was not last week. There was a question, or a question came in for Eversource of whether they wanted the main power line run underground, run under Route 89, or continuing overhead as originally designed. We met with Eversource, Richard's team, his site civil engineers, Newfield Construction was at the meeting, and we had representative from Eversource, actually, who was on site. It was a virtual meeting from the trailer. I thought it was a good meeting. We've just determined that it made sense not to have to cross the state road and incur or have additional costs incurred as far as ripping up the road, police to maintain the road safety and all. So we stayed with the current design. Now, so for Eversource to get us on their schedule and to install the required poles we need, they've sent us now their proposal to do the work. This was included in our soft costs. We did have a line item in your budget for utility coordination. There was also one pole on site that actually Eversource is going to provide. So we're working with Newfield Construction and their electrical engineer. They're actually going to be getting us a credit back for one pole, which we actually purchased through the project. So Eversource will be responsible for setting all of the required poles and pulling the primary over to the pole on our site. That proposal from Eversource was included in your committee packet, and I believe the total cost of that proposal is $14,545.58. And I can bring it up on the screen if needed. But we need to get Eversource scheduled. We're coming up on or just about to start hurricane season. So we need to get this approved, so Eversource will put us on their schedule and we can get our new primary service in the works.
Chris? Oh, you're muted.
All right. You had the total about right, but there was $1,000 in some sort of tax. What is that? Do you know what that is, Scott? CIAC? Some athletic thing?
That I'm not, CIAC contribution. Contributions in aid of instruction are considered taxable income receiving utility. Internal Revenue Code mandates that. I'm assuming it's tied into a state statute or something through the utility as a requirement. I don't know specifically.
They have to pay taxes on it, so they're going to charge us the tax back.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this is the standard letter for installation from Eversource. So, unfortunately, they're a monopoly, and we're bound to that. And I will say that this cost is substantially lower than the budgeted amount in your soft cost. So, we've done good with this. We were a little conservative on our estimates. So this is well below what we had budgeted in your account.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
If it's appropriate, I'd just like to move that we approve it if a motion is appropriate.
Okay, so a motion to approve the Eversource fee dated August 4, 2021, in the amount of $14,545.58. That's the motion. Thank you, Chris. Is there a second? Addison, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, then all in favor of approving the motion, just give me a sign. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, not passed unanimously then. Okay. That concludes our agenda. So at this point, I would accept the motion to adjourn. Thank you, Mary.
Actually, Randy, I wanted to say one more thing before I made that motion. I was just raising my
Okay.
I just wanted to double back to, or maybe for the first time, maybe double back is the wrong phrase, just kind of put out there to both Kelly and to Lauren, as you prepare for this school year, please know how grateful we are for all the work that you are doing. Everybody said, yep, school's going to go on. That school year is going to be great at Southeast. Construction's going to be happening, but school year is going to go on just fine. And you've really had to make a lot of accommodations. You've had to juggle a lot of things. I'm sure the list is miles long that has to happen before school opens and as you continue through the year. So I just wanted to say thank you for all your extra work and all the balls you're trying to juggle and make sure everything's good to go for the kids and your staff. I'm sure there's a lot of anxiety around that for everyone. So kudos to both of you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary.
Okay, any other comments before Mary makes her motion to adjourn?
Now I really make a motion to adjourn.
All right, thank you, Mary. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Chris. Then we'll see you all the next meeting in 2 weeks.
Hey, Scott and Randy, can you stay on for a minute?
Thank you, Randy.